they spend so little time here on Djuma in general, you wonder how they keep track of all the areas that they move through and know all the different pathways and alleyways, or is it just kind of a general feel that they go by? To cats in Florida, and you ask a good question. Cats in Florida is interested to know, how do adult wild dogs ever get enough nutrition if they're continuing to look after the youngsters? They'll always look after themselves foremostly, and it's the same for most of the adults and parents out here in the African wilderness. It's imperative that they feed themselves before they feed their young, because adults aren't around to feed the young, then the young will get no food at all. So they know how much to regurgitate and how much food they actually need in order to be well fed and well fueled. I'm just going to try and loop ahead of them quickly. We may have a little opportunity for them to keep running past us on this little game trail that they're moving along. They're just off to our left now. Hold tight. Yeah, this is going to work well. We're going to get you some great views. Just need to find out which pathway they're going to come along. I think this could work quite well, but it's a gamble. Let's see what happens. They're streaming both sides of us. Just going to move back ever so slightly. Change direction, so it is. So, I'm wondering, the adult in front of the pack to our left, one of the alphas probably, hard to say, probably the alpha female, yeah, that's a female in front, looking longingly towards a herd of wildebeest, which isn't too far from us. This is awesome. They're streaming all past the side of the vehicle here. Beautiful morning sunshine beating down on them and us. What a morning this is. Oh, and there's a straggler that's about to pop into frame, coming past the back of the vehicle here, or the front of the vehicle, sorry. There we go. And looks like Brent's in quite a good spot now. So we're going to reposition, and we're going to send you across to Brent.
So we're up ahead with the 3 adults. The youngsters are behind us, and it looks like they're on the move again, on the hunt. And fortunately for the wildebeest, or unfortunately for the wild dogs, they've headed away from where the baby wildebeest are. By the puppy, and we're going to try to keep up with the adults, because if they do see an impala or something, that's where you want to be. Hey little guys. In Texas would like to know whether the wild dog pups are a help or a hindrance at the moment. I would say they're probably more of a hindrance, but wild dogs' hunting strategy is quite different from other animals. So the adults will quite often speed off and leave the pups. With this pack being so small, they actually often leave the pups alone for a while, which is unusual. But quite often they will do like this, and they will run with the adults while they hunt, and they'll be there sort of just after the kill is made. Wild dogs hunt by sight and basically run until they see something and then chase it down at high speed. They can do sort of 60 kilometers an hour for up to about 5 or 6 kilometers. So Sean in Chicago would like to know why the dogs are such successful hunters. It's because of the sort of teamwork, the pack working together, as well as, more importantly, that stamina, the fact that they can keep up incredible speeds for long periods of time. I'm just going to try moving up to a bit more open area. I'm trying to get ahead of them. But they're on the move again, so the adults at that jog can keep that up for a long time, so hold on. We also want to try to stay ahead of them in case there's some impala or something else in that area. Here we go. You got them, Andrew? There. So while we wait for them to pop out the block, here they come. Charlotte in YouTube would like to know, do they fight over their kills like lions, or is there an eating hierarchy with wild dogs? Charlotte, there most definitely is, and it's the pups come first. One of the few animals that, and basically all adults' whole life is to keep the pups well fed. Let's stand down. There we go. So all adult members of the pack will scent mark on their home range, and that's what's happening right next to us here. A bit of scent marking. Hello, puppies. So incredible animals. We've got the adult male and female closest to us now scent marking. By far, in my opinion, the most exciting animal in the African bush. And it's quite interesting now, we watch all those pups there. They're still not at the age where they're scent marking yet. Even though they go smell the adult scent mark, it'll probably be another 4 or 5 months before they start scent marking as well. And all members of the pack will scent mark, not just the alpha pair, but generally only the alpha pair will breed. And there have been some unusual cases, like the other pack we have here, the Sabi Sands pack. They also had 2 females that bred, but when that happens, the beta females pups are often killed by the alpha female. But this year that didn't happen, and I've also heard of it happening in Botswana. And they've got a very distinct smell. It's sort of like a cross between a wet dog and mold. Jenny is wondering how many wild dogs you can possibly get in a pack. The biggest pack I've seen, Jenny, was just over 40 dogs in northern Botswana, and I've seen big packs in southern Tanzania of also around sort of the 30-35 mark. Okay, let's walk around again. So far they're being quite kind in the type of bush they're going through. Often they go through very thick bush and we battle to stay with them. Oh, there's kudu right in front of them. I don't think they've seen the kudu, but the kudu are already on the move. Oh, they've seen the kudu. Hold on, everyone. So staying with wild dogs while hunting is quite a difficult feat. We will try our best. They're off after an adult female kudu at the moment. Watch your head, Andrew. Ah, there. They've given up, it seems. Oh, no, they've caught a scrub hare or a duiker right behind us. Look at that, they've just grabbed something small. I thought, maybe a baby duiker. It's a baby duiker. Oh, it's scrub hare. Look at that, look how incredible, how quick they were on that. So it was a scrub hare. I just saw the ears briefly. Oh, look, there goes one pup's got most of the carcass. But this is why wild dogs are so exciting. That incredible hunters. Look, oh, I can't see what part of the bunny this one's got.
One leg that this one of the far legs. One pup that's just taken.
So, I mean, look at this. This, how incredible is that? I mean, this is the thing about following wild dogs. Anything can happen at any time. And Tanner, who's in LA, would like to know, what's the top sense of a wild dog? Oh, shame. This guy got the raw end of the stick. Doesn't really want to eat that and test. Oh no, it's a fetus. So it was a scrub hare, and now this one has got a scrub hare fetus from inside the hare. Look at that. It's incredible. That is a baby scrub hare from inside another scrub hare. That is amazing. There we go. They're fighting over the fetus now. This is the thing about wild dogs. It is absolute excitement all the time. My absolute favorite animal. Here we go, we've got one running with what's left of that scrub hare. This one looks like it's eating that fetus. And just the last little bits of that poor baby scrub hare fetus disappearing. Chomp, 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 two little legs, one little leg, and gone. And there's a bit of an argument going over the rest of that scrub hare carcass over there. Yeah, I'm just going to try to zoom ahead. It's a bit of a thick patch in the bush there. And if you saw how quickly it can go with wild dogs, adults saw a kudu, two of the adults took off, another adult spooked a scrub hare, and unfortunately, if you were that scrub hare, it was over's cadovers. Hold on, big bump, Andrew. Oh, sorry guys, I managed to pull out my cables in this mad rush. There we go, cable back in. Mary's wondering how they communicate, and do they communicate like domestic dogs? Mary, I think they do have quite a lot of different calls, that tittering, woo calls, a contact call, but I think when hunting, a lot of the communication is visual. So they take cues, visual cues from the other dogs. They're heading up towards the sandy patch where there's possibly more baby impala. Oh, this one's still got some. It's got the scrub hare's ear in its mouth. Look at that! You can see the ears and the head of the scrub hare, and it's almost just playing with the others, saying, "Ha ha ha ha! I've got it. You can't have it." Interesting, that spot up there, we've seen them scent mark quite a few times on that exact spot. it's her first time seeing wild dogs live. So welcome, Jenny. Sorry, I just need to move onto the side of the road so the other cars can also see. And Jenny just says, thanks, we do such an amazing job. Sorry, Andrew, I know I'm putting you up in a difficult position with the camera, so apologies for a bit of a skew camera there, but it's just so we can make a space so everyone else can see from behind us. So where they zoomed in now, where Andrew zoomed in now, is actually a scent marking latrine, and I've seen them scent mark there quite a few times.
There's a scrub there, so the ones with the skull.
Julia in Houston would like to know whether it was one of the puppies who caught the scrub hare or an adult. Julia, to be honest, in such pandemonium I couldn't see, but I do think it was one of the adults. And now on the road is possibly the smelliest thing in the bush, and that is wild dog dung. If you drive over that, your car will be reeking for a day or two. Monkey Man, who's watching on YouTube, would like to know, is this the first live wild dog kill on SafariLIVE? We've been very close before. I'd have to chat to the other presenters, but I think probably the closest we've been to the actual kill. Hello, little guys. Yes, Hayden actually had the first live wild dog kill at Buffelshoek Dam during Big Cat Week last year. Okay, they're off again, so are we. Ooh, smelly. Lillian, who started watching yesterday, what a great second day on the live safari for you, Lillian. Lillian would like to know how long wild dogs live if they don't die from something else. And Lillian, they're actually relatively short-lived, 5 or 6 years at the most. Ravi in Ottawa would like to know, do wild dogs ever attack people? Ravi, there's been no ever recorded case of wild dogs attacking humans. Not to say they wouldn't. A small child possibly, but probably not an adult. We're too big. So up ahead is an area called Sandy Patch where we often see impala herds. So there's a good chance that they're still on the hunt. As I said, with 11 hungry puppies to feed, it's quite possible they'll hunt multiple times in a day. We've been in the front of the queue for so long, we're going to let the other guys just go ahead, and I'm going to meander my way around to wait on impala planes. Very jealous about how short our cars are, and we are able to maneuver through the bush at much higher speed than the big game drive vehicles that are made for people. I just have to worry about losing Andrew occasionally, and if I lose him, it's fine. It's not too big a deal. I know a little sneaky spot through here from following Shadow a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to try and get myself onto the open area of Impala Plains. Let's go see if there's any potential prey there. quite often when it comes to getting the right, or seeing the kills and being in the right place, is sometimes second guessing the animal's maneuvers, especially with wild dogs in very thick bush. It can be quite useful, although they've obviously decided to second guess me and they've gone north instead of what I was hoping west. So hold on. We're still opposite them. Just going to try to get out onto the road. And especially with an animal like a wild dog, you really want to be, if possible, up with the front. And I'm very, very lucky. I had the best wild dog hunting training school in the world. Growing up in northern Botswana, we had 2 packs of wild dogs that denned in our area for 10 years. So I got good training from my dad and the other guides at Kwando Safaris when I was very young. Okay, the Indians. Yeah, wild dogs are just behind us with other vehicles. We are trying to be up ahead in case there is any potential prey in this area. There's a baby giraffe, which might be a little bit big for wild dogs. I'll have a look at them now. I just want to see what's up ahead. Very often impala here. Looks like they are scarce this morning. Lucky for them. There's a young giraffe, sub-adult giraffe. Watching where the wild dogs should be popping out. Andrew, keep your eyes peeled on the edge of these thickets here. Sorry guys, just going to be on the radio for a second. Craig. What direction they're heading. So apparently they've stopped around there. But what an exciting way to start. Sunrise fire, yeah, they come straight at us. Let's get the reverse on. They might that little giraffe. They sometimes like to play with giraffe, but there's no impala that I can see here. They're still on the jog, and judging by the adult's belly, they wouldn't mind another meal. I'm sure they were hoping there might be some impala on these open plains. Andrew's just giving the lens a bit of a wipe. Excuse me. And there's the baby giraffe, or young giraffe, not quite a baby anymore. Now, wild dogs tend to have a playful side, so sometimes we get lucky and they terrorize things like giraffe that they're not really going to eat, and especially elephants. And some of you would have been with me for that unbelievably incredible elephant and wild dog interaction that went on for about 45 minutes at the Treehouse Waterhole. Unfortunately, I was hoping there would be some potential prey species up here, but it looks like every everyone's on the run because the dogs are in town. So Matthew in LA is wondering, how do the dogs communicate during a hunt? Matthew, more than likely via visual. From what I see, they visually take notes from the other dogs and react according to what they can see. So it looks like they might have a little rest here. There's been some very interesting research done on wild dogs and wild dog social dynamics in packs. When you see dogs lying like this, very close together, it's a good sign, and it means the packs are generally quite stable and will survive longer. When dogs start lying further and further away from each other, it means the social bonds within the pack are not as strong, and those are the packs that often dissipate or break up. And how new wild dog packs are formed, generally it happens when these packs get big, sort of over 20, and you'll have dispersal males, normally 2 males that will depart from the pack to go search dispersal females. So while we wait to see if these dogs get up to anything else, let's go have a look at Scotty, who's got some ellies.
Welcome back, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to get you a glimpse of this lady's head. It's quite thick bush, but she's a very old elephant cow, one of the oldest I've seen for a long time, and I can tell because her temporal dents are incredibly deep. Even below her eye, where her mouth is, you can see it's incredibly gaunt there, and those deep temporal dents above her eyes. Indications of an old female, and with age, she's become a little bit grumpy, so she's giving us some attitude. Look in her mouth there, just below her eyes. You may have got that glimpse, very, very deep indentation there. Indications of an old lady, and they're a little bit worked up, so rather than giving this herd a hard time, we're going to send you back to the wild dogs and head off in search of some bird nests.
So we're still with these wild dogs. Andrew, look what I've just spotted in front of us. And now if one of the dogs happened to spot that, pandemonium could break loose yet again. There are some impala there on the edge of the clearing, and they are slowly heading this way. They don't know that the dogs are there. The wind is coming from our west, so they won't smell them either. Exciting stuff. Now, quite often, as when we were following these dogs earlier, we could see a lot of animals that the dogs seem to miss. Now, if you imagine being the dog's height, you are looking into every bush, every tree. So we're much higher than them, so we're able to see much further ahead. Molly, good morrow to you, Molly, who's watching via YouTube. Molly would like to know what size, so domestic dog size comparison could I use for these guys? So they're sort of probably similar size to an Alsatian or German Shepherd, a bit skinnier though. they've got these wonderful coats, and that's where they get their name from, or their scientific name at least.
There's some impala.
There's an impala. I'm just trying to see if it's going to walk right into these dogs. And they get their scientific name is Lichen pictus, or Lichen pictus, which means, basically translated, those of you who know much about wolves, a wolf is a lichen, or a lichen, or a werewolf, so a painted wolf. Now we just need one of them to pop their head up and spot those impala, and then we will have some fun.
Definitely become more alert when they see stationary vehicles.
Impala actually moved off. I don't know if they got a whiff of the dogs, and it almost looked like they were more chasing each other than anything else. It was two males. Shannon would like to know, is there any particular reason for the coloration of their coats? Shannon, with most animals that have sort of stripes, spots, or dots, or broken up coats like the wild dogs, it will be to do a bit with camouflage, but probably in the wild dog's case far more for when it's resting, so it's not spotted by other predators, specifically lions, rather than hiding from a potential prey species that they're trying to catch. Very visual hunters, good sense of smell, very good sense of hearing, but their primary sense they use while hunting is vision. The ears are probably there more as a form of defense to try to pick up on any potential threat that's coming towards them. And also, quite often, you've seen how frantic the hunting is. They get separated, and the ears are for finding each other again with woo calls. Have a wonderful sort of almost not quite a howl that they use to relocate each other if they get separated while hunting. So Barbara and Lulu Fire are wondering, would the dogs hunt that baby giraffe? I'd say already at its young age, it's just stood up now, it's a bit big for them. He's probably weighing in close on 600-700 pounds already. And wild dogs prefer to hunt sort of medium to small-sized antelope. They do, however, occasionally go for bigger stuff like kudu, and a really amazing report and sighting that was had by a friend of mine who's in Botswana of a pack of dogs actively hunting a large herd of buffalo. So it's not impossible. I think if a big enough pack would think about going after that baby giraffe, but I think with only 3 adults in this pack, it might be a bit much. And also, the giraffe are quite aware that the dogs are there. They spotted them as they trotted down the road, and there's some more giraffe off to the left. So they're well aware the dog's there, but the dogs don't really pose a potential threat to the giraffe. So they're happy to ignore them and carry on. So in this one here, it looks like it's got such a dopey face. So, a very interesting question from Chaza, who's watching on YouTube. Will dogs fight between the packs for territory? It's not very common, but when it does happen, it's very brutal. So this pack hasn't had the best luck this year. There were 5 of them when we started. One was killed by the other pack of wild dogs in the Sabi Sands, and then that other female was killed by a snake when they were denning in the Manyeleti. So there were 5 adults, there are now only 3, but future's looking a bit brighter with 11 pups. I think we should try to do a count now, how many dogs we can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Everyone present and accounted for. So Lily in Texas is asking, what age do the pups actively start hunting, and what age can they survive without their parents? Well, Lily, with wild dog social structures, they generally don't survive without their parents, and they will stay within that structure the majority of the time. If they do disperse, they'll be well over 2 years old when they disperse to form a new pack. And you would probably say any time from the next month, 2 months or so, that these little guys will become active members of the hunt. They probably have already started, but haven't quite refined the art yet. So there we go, you can see there's one of the adult males and a distinct notch in its left ear. Alyssa would like to know, do wild dogs have a better eyesight than domestic dogs? Well, that's an interesting question, Alyssa. I would probably say it's similar. I'd say very, very similar. Domestic dogs, before they were domestic, would have had a very similar hunting strategy to wild dogs and wolves, that coursing, followed with stamina. So you can see there's been obviously quite a lot of action this morning, at least 2 kills that we know about. So everyone's taking a well-deserved rest. Snoozing under the tree. I think as the sun gets warmer, you'll find that they will pack under this little guarri bush if they don't move again this morning. It's sort of a 50-50 call. If some impala happened to wander into the area, I'm quite sure they would be off like a flash. But for now, most importantly, the pups are sated, so they're not whining and whinging and begging the adults for food. So adults have done their job. And also, one of the most interesting things about wild dogs is that they are probably the only animal apart from human beings that puts the children or the puppies as the highest member in the social standing of the group. And when I say that, it might sound a little bit strange to a lot of you, but if you think about the way we treat children, and we'll go at all costs to protect children and stuff, they actually have a very high social standing in our social structure, and that's the same with wild dogs. Possibly not a new viewer, but new to asking questions. A big welcome to Nature Lover on YouTube. Nature Watcher, sorry, not Nature Lover, Nature Watcher on YouTube. And Nature Watcher would like to know, can they breed with domestic dogs? They cannot. They're not of the genus Canis, like a domestic dog. Domestic dog is Canis domestus. This is a lichen. So they separated from domestic dogs quite some time ago in the evolutionary tree of life. times. A little bit of play there between two of the youngsters before flopping down to snooze again. Would like to know whether wild dogs have individual friendships within the pack. So is there one dog that they get on better with than the other dog? Karen, I'm afraid I don't believe so. It's the pack for the pack. So I wouldn't say they have best friends within a pack. Genevieve in New York says, this is absolutely thrilling. I agree with you 100%, Genevieve. Genevieve would like to know the feeling I get when a wild dog stares me in the eyes. Well, Genevieve, pure excitement. They are my favorite animal. And as I said earlier, there's never been a recorded case of wild dog attack on human. I've actually spent incredible moments with them on foot in Tanzania and Botswana, and I've actually been lying on the road photographing them and had one come so close it misted up my camera lens. So just joy and excitement when a wild dog stares me in the eyes, Janine. So it doesn't look like they're going to move anytime soon. So Shamrock on email and Lois would like to know, how do the dogs sleep? Does one stay awake as a guard while the others sleep? Are they heavy sleepers like lions and leopards? Both of the big cats are quite heavy sleepers. They are light sleepers, so even if they are asleep, you'll notice they are quite alert. They're sort of cat napping, even though they're a dog. And you'll see their ears are constantly moving like little radar dishes, picking up every sound around them. Jonathan in New Jersey would like to know, leopard versus wild dog, what's the outcome? Single leopard, single wild dog, leopard would win. Pack of wild dogs and a leopard, no chance for the leopard. I've actually seen wild dogs kill a leopard in Botswana. They ripped a female to absolute pieces in a matter of seconds. Sleepy puppies. And most of the leopards in this area have probably been chased at wild dogs at many points during their life. I think it has been seen maybe in March. I think I might have been on leave, but apparently this pack did chase Quarantine or Kanyuma in March as well. Lucky they didn't catch them. Virginia in Kentucky are asking, are all the pups in this pack from the same mother? Yes, Virginia. Wild dogs are only the alpha pair breed. It's just unusual circumstances that a beta female would breed, so they're all brothers and sisters. And the father is the alpha male, so only the alpha pair breed. So looks like they might rest, and it is getting quite warm. So there is a strong possibility they might rest up here for the day, and that would be really exciting because we'd have access to them on the sunset safari. But with wild animals, you can never predict what they're going to do. Every time we do, they like to make our predictions incorrect. But hopefully they will not move too far. Marilyn, who's in Montana, thanks Marilyn. Marilyn says she's been hooked since Big Cat Week and enjoying it thoroughly, and said this sighting's been incredible, more exciting than NASCAR. Well, Marilyn, I don't know much about NASCAR, but most motorsport racing I find to be quite dull if you're going round and round in circles, and wild dogs far more entertaining, to me at least. There's an impala back in front of these dogs. They haven't spotted it yet. And I don't think the wind is blowing now slightly more from the west, so they might smell the impala, but as I said, dogs are much more visual hunters than, so they would have to see that impala to set them off. So Paul wants to know whether wild dogs have a permanent den when they have young pups. They do, Paul, till the pups are about 3.5 months old, and they'll start running with the pack at that young age. But for the first 3 months, they will have a couple of dens, very similar to hyena, multiple den sites in an area, and when the fleas get too bad, they'll move them. As you can see, very little movement going on here. They've been running around, creating havoc everywhere they've gone. And now it's time for a snooze. Scotty's been up to for the last while. There's some giraffe close by, so I'm going to go have a look at those quickly where I can keep an eye on the dog as well. Hopefully Scotty's been on the tracks of some leopards. That baby giraffe and the others just banded off there. We will be back to check on the wild dogs shortly, but while they're sleeping, let's have a look at something else. Look at that, some wonderful giraffe. So these were, and the little guy, let's have a quick look there. alert. There's the little giraffe that was lying on the edge of the clearings. I can still see a gap through to where the wild dogs are, so don't worry, if they move, we'll be able to shoot there. And little giraffe feeding off a knob thorn with a nice big giraffe bull next door. So we're going to go across to Scotty, who's got another member of Africa's Big Five.
Well, Brent wasn't imagining things. We did rather have a member of the Big Five. It's just behind us. For now, though, we are following up on a bird's nest. We're going to go back to those Cape Buffalo. But there was a tiny little bird that we saw in this area yesterday on bushwalk called a water thickney, and it was lying up at its nest, which is just up ahead of us. There's a little branch down here. Okay, interesting stuff. Now all that's left at the moment is one little bare egg that you'll see very well camouflaged on the soil here. And lying next to this egg yesterday was a tiny little chick. An incredibly cute little bird called a thickney. And for those of you who weren't with us on safari, I'm just going to pull up a quick picture on my phone to show you. This will just take a second to give you an idea of what we were looking at. But what's interesting is that there's not too much known about these birds. And when I read up in the book, here we go. There's the picture I wanted to show you. So this is what we were looking at yesterday. There's the tiny, cute little chick, incredibly well camouflaged, and there's the egg behind that you can see. So the egg is still here. The chick is gone. The chick was gone yesterday afternoon. Now, I'm not too sure. This picture was taken yesterday morning. I'm not too sure how old the chick was once we found it yesterday, but who knows? It could still be somewhere in this area. I did see an adult thickney running through this area, so maybe the chick is hiding down, and that's what they do best. Little cryptically camouflaged chicks will just lie dead flat on the ground and not be seen, and therefore no predators will be able to find them. So I'm hoping that's what's happened. Or there's a chance that it has been eaten. I'm guessing this other egg is not going to hatch. So that possibly is a dud, but who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and maybe it will hatch. We'll keep checking. And here are the Cape Buffalo. And it looks like they've had enough wallowing for the day. I'm just going to stop a little bit lower down here and let Tebs film them. They seem quite worked up. I'm not too sure why. Maybe they were chased by a lion last night. Speaking of lions chasing buffalo, an incredibly exciting scenario to be involved in and witness. Jerry has just asked me, what is my most memorable and exciting moment whilst on safari? Whew, Jerry, it's a tough question, and my answer will vary on the day. There's so many different kind of genres of sightings. Encounters on foot, cool sightings on the vehicles, kills, the most exciting kills I've had. So there's many different, like I say, genres for exciting moments. But one that comes to mind now is sleeping under a mosquito net in Chada Katavi, or Katavi National Park in southern Tanzania, and having lions coming up quite close to the campsite. There was just a little fire burning, and a mosquito net was all that protected us from these lions that were in a very close proximity and confines of our camp. So that's one safari highlight that will stick with me forever, Jerry. And just going to get into position here. I think we're going to have an awesome moment with this Cape Buffalo as he tends to his horns. And we've got a great low angle here. Look at this. Hello, boy. Yes, you are big and strong, and you will show that bush who's boss. Often they get caught behind the ear. You can see a few leaves there, which leaves male buffalo with these quite feminine kind of accessories. Hello, boy. Sorry, did you not like what I just said about you? Look at all the mud caked on his back. And he obviously didn't like what I had to say about the accessories that he could pick up while scratching his horns and ears. And off they go. Quite cantankerous old beasts, these, the Cape Buffalo, and one that you do not want to bump into on foot, considering how much time we've all spent walking around this waterhole. It's not going to be long before we are chased up a tree on a bushwalk by a Cape Buffalo. That'll be fun. Probably not for the cameraman who's got a large backpack on. With an antenna, it'll be tricky for him to climb up a tree. But it is important to remember that while we are on foot, there are these dangers lurking around us. And we all, you included, need to be ready for those dangerous moments that we may encounter whilst on the walking safaris. On the vehicle, we're a lot safer, and animals tend to see us and hear us from a long way. Here they go again. Not too much time as they cross up into the thick bush there. As I was saying, the benefits of being in a vehicle is that A, it's very large, and B, they're quite noisy, so we're typically not going to startle an animal in the vehicle, and then even if we do, we've got the size and strength and sound of a vehicle that can rev loudly, that looks quite big. Whereas when we're on foot, we aren't armed with such luxuries. Now, I checked another nest on the way here, the emerald-spotted wood dove's nest around the Mawasi riverbed, some of you will be aware of. Again, tragedy, no eggs, and it's probably the 5th or 6th dove's nest that we've tried to monitor, but never ever got to the stage of even seeing a hatchling. So it appears that the doves are providing a lot of the predators out here with easy meals in the way of eggs. It could even be monkeys that feed on eggs, snakes, birds of prey, genets, monitor lizards. So a large host of animals will understand the high protein of an egg. And obviously, it's an incredibly easy meal once you found the thing. What a morning it's been. There goes some impala darting across the road. I might actually stop here. We might get some great shots from this low angle. Here they all go. Teb, zoom in quick, just across the road. Awesome. Look at this. Beautiful. Look at that silhouette. Oh, not silhouette, but stark skyline in the background. Just a big male to follow now. He's about to pop across. Here he goes. Oh, wonderful stuff. Dark clouds in the background. I love low angles. For those of you who are new to these live safaris, I'll stop at any opportunity to give you a low angle. And the reason for that is it's a kind of more realistic view of what's going on. The camera is quite elevated on top of the vehicle, which it needs to be. There's no way around that. But low angles on the money shots. Sadly, the impala in this area have been having a hard time with the wild dogs around, but we just have to be grateful of the impala for dealing with this stress, because it is the complete opposite for us. It's joy and jubilation whenever this pack is on our property, or any pack of wild dog really, because they are just so much fun and excitement to follow. I think we would have got some insane footage with this little toy on the front of the vehicle, so I'm hoping it won't be too long before you guys will have access to it, to watch these videos that we've been putting together. It will happen at some stage. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be today or tomorrow or next week. There's a lot of post-production work that has to go into stitching all of it together, but thank you for bearing with us, and I can assure you that every single one of us is going to benefit from the footage that we are busy capturing on this new toy. this 360-degree camera that is certainly going to provide us with great views. And they say, though, the only thing missing is that we need smell-o-vision, something to allow you to be able to smell the African wilderness. You would have been able to smell those wild dogs this morning, that's for sure. They smell a bit like a wet blanket. And not only that, love dogs, smell-o-vision is good, but imagine once we get the right cables and the right equipment to be able to make this a live feed. So whilst you're on safari with us, you won't require necessarily that Tebs or Andrew or Vim or whoever the cameraman are zoom you into certain sightings or pan around to certain sightings. You will be able to decide where to look and when. It's possible, hard to believe, but that is the joy of the area that we live in. There's some remarkable technology being put together by some incredible geniuses that are wandering around our planet. So exciting times ahead, and thank you for bearing with us in the meantime. Let's hope the signal doesn't drop yet. It can be a little the boundary. This road's called Buffalo. Then you disappeared again. Hello? Are you there? Hey, you're back. Welcome. And apologies for that. We are now up on higher ground. And I'm thinking of heading to the hyena den site. It was an initial plan this morning before the wild dog got in the way. And let's go across there and see if we don't have any luck. There were 4 individuals heading there a little bit earlier. 2 adults, that could have been males, and 2 sub-adults. And we had a wonderful sighting of them following them from kind of Sydney's Dam area, which is just north of our northwestern boundary. Good prospects for them being there. To a new viewer, Cole Hagud, and they're watching on YouTube. It's important to know that if one platform isn't working very well, it's worth trying another one. Ustream, YouTube, Nat Geo Wild's website, our website, the WildEarth TV website. That's important to remember, but apologies, Cole Hagud. Back to your question. How big is this area, and do we find ostriches here? Cole, it's a massive, massive wilderness area that we're a part of. 3 million hectares, bigger than Israel, bigger than Wales. It is massive. And we only get to traverse about 1,500 hectares of over 3 million, which make up the Greater Kruger National Park, which we're a part of. And certainly, yes, within that 3 million hectares, there will be ostriches, but in this area where we are working, it's unlikely that we will see any. And in the coming on 5 years that I've spent in this part of South Africa in the Sabi Sands, we don't very often see them. I've only seen one in many, many years. Cole, good to have you with us. And even though we may not be able to show you a safari here in coming weeks, there is a slight chance. The good news is that you can go on safari anywhere in Africa, not only in Africa, in the world. We have yet to do that, but it's exciting prospects, and you've jumped on board this live safari operation at a good time because next year is really looking promising with some exciting projects up ahead and new toys and technology getting thrown into the mix. And I think every single one of us involved in this live safari is hugely, hugely privileged to be a part of it. There's many people that have no idea what goes on daily and therefore can't join in on the fun. So if you enjoy it and would like to keep going on safari into different places within Africa, keep spreading the word. There's a tiny little blue bird that I'd like to show you. It's a gamble now. Tips, it's on the ground on our left at about 9 o'clock. Oh, it's just flown into a little bush there. I'm just going to stop here. If you pan up to that bush that's in your frame now, that green bush there, zoom in on there, and it was hopping around on the left-hand side of that bush. It's an incredibly pretty little bird called the blue waxbill, and I knew this was going to be a gamble. It's tiny. It's a very, very small bird, but I'm hoping it hops out into view. No sign of it just yet, and I think we are going to have to swallow our pride and accept defeat from this blue waxbill. But we'll find you another one at some point in time. A tricky thing with a lot of the smaller characters on safari here is that because they are so small, unless we get you really close to them, it's hard to kind of acknowledge and understand their beauty. So that's one thing that I try to do wherever possible when we are quite close to a pretty animal that you need to zoom in on to actually see the colors and the definition. We try and go for it. And I guess that's a big reason why a lot of the smaller stars of the show actually get overlooked. It's simply that they are easy to drive past without realizing how pretty they are. An elephant, on the other hand, is difficult to drive past without seeing in the first place and understanding how majestic they are. So remember that and keep your eye out for the smaller things. I'm sure a lot of you have been wondering what those wild dogs are up to since you've been with me. So, over to Brent, and he's going to give you a quick update as to what is happening over there.
So, very little movement here. Flat dogs lying up in the exact same spot. And what an incredible morning it's been. Absolute pure pandemonium and excitement. So we know that the dogs definitely killed twice, a baby impala and a scrub hare, and they even pulled a fetus out of the scrub hare. Isn't that incredible? They are by far, in my opinion, the most exciting creatures in the African bush, and by far my favorite animal. Not to say I don't love all the others, but wild dogs and I have almost a kindred spirit, I'd like to say. So also just to let everyone know, all 11 puppies are well. The 3 adults are still with them, so they haven't lost any. So they're doing a really great job so far this year in rearing these little guys, and it's still a risky time till they're about a year old. So a way to go still before these little guys are in the clear. Very, very lovely comment from Diana Hill on YouTube. So just please let Scott and Brent know how much that we appreciate them. Well, we appreciate you guys watching, and it's such an awesome privilege to be able to share our passion for Africa's wildlife with you, wherever you might be sitting in this wide world of ours. A little bit of movement, and I think that's probably what they're going to do for the rest of the day. We'll see them get up, move to different spots to lie in when they get uncomfortable in the spot that they are in. And this bodes well for the sunset safari. Hopefully they'll still be here. There were two male impala hanging around just ahead of them, and Janine would like to know, are the impalas gone now? They are, Janine, they've moved off. The dogs did not spot them. I just love the patterns on their coats. There's not one that's the same. They're each so unique. So there we go. You got a nice close-up of one of the little guys lying on the road. You can see a bit of sand around the mouth and a full belly for the little guy. So the adults have done their job, and you can see he's panting quite heavily from a belly full of scrub hare and impala that we know about. So Raisa, who's in Finland, said she can't remember on the live safaris ever seeing them muddy or wet. Do they not like getting wet? Actually, they do. They love lying in pans and water, especially when it's very hot and when they're on the move. So earlier we got asked a question whether they could crossbreed with the domestic dog, and I said they can't. They separated probably 1 million or so years ago from the hyenas, and they have fewer toes than a dog, and their teeth are quite different to a domestic dog's, and they're very specialized for a hyper carnivorous diet. Andrew giving you a nice tour of the wild dog via camera. It's a young male. So in a wild dog pack, it's run by an alpha male and an alpha female. And Sean would like to know, is the male or the female more dominant? I'd say they share the dominance as a pair, not dominance between the two. Patty would like to know, are the wild dogs matriarchal like hyenas? Not at all. They sort of they share the responsibilities between the two alpha dogs, a male and female. And speaking of matriarchal dominance, I think Scotty's got something to show you.
So we've made our way across to the hyena den, as we said we were going to, and we're in luck. There, as you can see, is an adult and a sub-adult lying up on the top of the mound. No evidence of any other hyena at this stage. There could be one or two more nearby. And as Teb zooms out, you'll get the more kind of regular view of the den if this is your first time visiting. In that little hole over there, there are some cute little cubs. I think there's 3 little cubs at this den at the moment. There's been quite a lot of movements. Initially, it was kind of one female that we thought was here with the sub-adults and a tiny young cub. But subsequently, it appears a few more members of the clan have moved to this den site as well from another one nearby. So interesting ongoings with these complicated animals. When I say complicated, I mean they have got a very complex social structure. And we are busy doing our best to try and piece together the puzzles as to who's who, who's the boss. But haven't come up with too much conclusive decisions at the moment. Looks like quite a rotund belly of that sub-adult. Maybe they had a successful night snacking. And even a youngster of that age will still be drinking milk. They can still go out and forage with the adults. Forage for opportunities. They will steal kills when possible, but they will also hunt for themselves when need be. And one of our long-term viewers and safari extraordinaires, Raisa, provided us with some great information yesterday. Sorry, we're only using it now, Raisa, but Raisa says that the skull of a young hyena, like the one we're looking at, will probably only stop developing at around 3 years of age. Isn't that incredible? And that skull is going to be home to some bone-crushing jaws, and maybe that's why it takes so long for it to grow. There's a lot of thick bone as well as intricate muscles that need to bond onto those jaw bones in order to allow them to crunch through bone like no other animal out here. So thanks for that, Raisa. And that is also a contributing reason why they do nurse for such long periods of time. They need high amounts of calcium in their diet to build their strong bones. And they also live a life of kind of more uncertainty than most other predators. And it's not safe for them to take young sub-adults like this into dangerous zones to get meat, and that's why it makes sense that milk is going to be a staple diet when meat is not available. I don't think we're going to get lucky and see any cubs coming out this late in the morning. James, who's been spending a lot of time at this den, seems to think that it's most active earlier on in the mornings. We were busy elsewhere earlier this morning, so it couldn't be here. But it seems like it's quite sleepy and peaceful now, and it'll probably remain that way for the course of the day until things cool down a little bit later, and then we'll probably find the den becoming a little bit more active. I could be wrong, and who knows, maybe another individual will come back and join us right now. Well, very happy to hear that Stuart Fox has been with us on safari for the last 20 minutes and is loving the experience. Stu, the good news is we head out daily, twice daily for 3 hours every session. So the morning safari starts at the moment at 5 o'clock Central African time and finishes at 8 o'clock in about 35 minutes. And in the afternoon, we head out on a sunset safari, which starts at 4 p.m. CAT and finishes at 7 p.m. 7 CAT. Stu, you missed out on some incredible action early on. We had wild dogs finishing off a baby impala kill, getting chased around by a wildebeest. And I guess it's that same pack of wild dogs you may have got a glimpse of when you first joined in a few moments ago. Good to know that you're with us, Stu, and it's great fun being on safari, so keep tuning in whenever you can. It's always different, it's always exciting. We never know what's going to happen. It's entirely unscripted, unedited, and you get to see the moments of brilliance as well as all the glitches and flaws along the way, which tend to make it quite a fun experience. Good to know you're watching, Stu, and we're going to spend a lot of time together in the future, no doubt. There's a lot of animals out here that we haven't seen today that we'll continue to search for. We're in an incredible wilderness area in the greater Kruger National Park, the northeastern corner of South Africa, host to many of Africa's most iconic animals, some of which we've already seen today, one of which you're looking at right now, the hyena. Typically, you'll find that most people have a kind of subconscious dislike for hyena, and whether that's because of the Lion King's negative portrayal of them or just general bad publicity, we will, however, try to convince you otherwise. Stu and all the other new viewers, they're wonderful animals that fit in incredibly well into the African outdoors and certainly have an important role to play out here. Well, Carl, how good. Thank you so much for your kind words, and glad that you're loving your second day on safari with us. Carl says he's already learned so much in a short space of time, and that is the beautiful thing of having so many of us together, Carl, is that we can all share knowledge with one another, tips, opinions, comments, thoughts, and just join in on the general excitement, really. But I must say that we do get a lot of help in terms of knowledge and facts from some of our viewers who are kind of more seasoned safari goers, and they've learned things along the way, and not only learned from us, but also done their own research and really become quite experienced. So it's a combination of everyone's kind of knowledge and thoughts and experience that make for quite a moving experience and quite a sharing experience, especially in terms of knowledge and facts. Good stuff, Carl, and we will continue to keep sharing whatever we know about Africa with you. What must be said is that a lot is unknown still, even with the amounts of research that has been done by various people on the various animals out here. There's still things that happen almost daily that keep us on our toes and keep us guessing, that possibly go against what textbooks may say. And it's that elements of unknown that keeps me coming back. Well, Claire, on YouTube, I'm not sure what you do for a living, but yes, Brent and myself, Teb's on camera, everyone involved in this SafariLIVE team are very, very fortunate to be here, and we are grateful for our jobs. We have great fun, and it's the fact that you guys are with us every step of the way that does make it fun. So thank you, Claire. And it's important to remember, if you are a new viewer, that Jamie, one of our other presenters, is a lady, as you are, and she is a presenter here. So it is possible, and for those of you who are interested in coming out to Africa for a while to work, it is very, very possible. Doesn't matter how old you are, what gender you are, what race you are, or your nationality. We are a very welcoming country, and we would love to have you guys come out, do a guide training course, work for a couple of months or years out here if you would like. And it is very, very possible and not difficult. I can assure you, at least on behalf of myself and Brent, we are not rocket scientists. Jamie and James are a bit more intelligent than the two of us, I think, but it's not difficult to become a guide out here. And if you want to, Claire, come on, book your ticket, come across, do a training course, and apply for a job with us. Well, we've got a bit of movement. The one hyena's got semi-vertical, horizontally vertical. And we've just heard some great news that's come through from one of our top ornithologists on SafariLIVE, Mike in Florida, and he says he's just booked some tickets to come across to Juma next year on holiday. Mike, that is wonderful news, and if we haven't found you the grey-headed kingfisher by then, live on these safaris, I'm certain we'll be able to make a plan for you when you get out here. Good news, Mike, and thanks for sharing that with us. We love it when you guys do come out to meet us. Obviously, you guys get to see our faces a lot more than we get to see yours, so it is always wonderful to put a name to a face and get to meet you guys if you do come out. And we will always accommodate to show you around a little bit of the behind the scenes, the final control room where Nikki and Louise are sitting now. The important parts of this experience that you typically don't get to see from wherever you're sitting now can be shown when you get out here. So exciting news, Mike, and thanks for letting us know that you're on the way. Now, the wild dogs weren't too far away from this den site this morning, and Safari Dean has just asked, what would happen if the hyenas smelt the wild dogs? Well, it depends, I guess. They know that wild dog are very effective killers, and they also know that wild dogs' jaws are not nearly as strong as theirs, so will often leave behind bones, as we saw a little bit earlier this morning. Even some of the small bones of a baby impala, which are very soft, were left behind by wild dogs. So hyena know that there's potentially some easy meals behind the wild dogs and will often follow them in certain scenarios, but as some of you may remember from not too long ago, wild dog can quite ferociously attack hyena if the numbers are in their favor. So it'll be interesting to know what happens, Safari Dean. I think they'll probably follow the scent trail, though, as a general rule, to see whatever the wild dog have killed. Can't provide them with an easy meal. But in and around a den, they may have taken a more kind of submissive stance and not run out all guns blazing, and rather maybe try to keep a low profile because of the risk of the cubs getting caught in the turmoil. And as I said, there are 3 tiny little hyena cubs that live within this den site, so maybe the adults would have been wise not to attract any unnecessary attention to them. Who knows though, maybe this afternoon the hyena and the wild dogs will run into one another. Certainly great prospects with that pack still lying up on our property, and I'm already looking forward to the sunset safari for the moment those dogs get active and start hunting. Let's just hope they stay on our property. They are fairly close to our northwestern boundary. Speaking of dogs, why don't you guys head across to Brent's vehicle for an update on exactly what they're up to.
So, no movement here, just sleepy dogs. It'll be quite nice and cool for them at the moment. The sun hasn't broken through the clouds yet, but I don't think they're going to move much today. And Scotty was chatting about dogs and hyenas. They have quite an interesting relationship. Hyenas are what you would call kleptoparasites of wild dogs, and they follow packs of wild dogs if they are in the area, especially with a high population of dogs. And dogs actually are one of the more successful animals at defending large groups of hyena when it comes to attacking or trying to steal their prey. And that's because of this incredibly tight-knit social structure that they share. So if one dog's in trouble, they'll come to the aid of the others. So it makes defending against hyenas a little bit more easy, whereas the hyenas tend to operate individually even when they're trying to rob from the wild dogs. So the collaboration between the dogs helps them very often see off the marauding hyena clan. So they are very, very much endangered. There are very few viable breeding populations of wild dogs left in Africa. The best areas being southern Africa, particularly Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, as well as South Africa. The Kruger National, or the Greater Kruger National Park, which we're in, has the largest population in South Africa. There's about 300 estimated dogs at the moment. There were about 500 in the early 2000s, but an outbreak of rabies decimated the population. The largest intact viable populations are in northern Botswana. There's probably about 800 dogs there, and southern Tanzania, the Selous Game Reserve, also, and probably about another 800 dogs there. There's remnant populations in Ethiopia. West Africa, they've been really, really annihilated, with very few places having any dogs whatsoever, just nomadic individuals popping up. Estimated less than 300 individuals in the whole of West Africa, with only one viable population of between 50 and 100 in Senegal. Mozambique's also got a relatively healthy population, so does Zambia and Zimbabwe. Places like Angola, it's completely unknown due to the civil war that ravaged there for years, but I'm sure there might be a few surviving packs. So with dogs being so endangered and being prone to canine diseases like rabies and distemper, Eleanor in Johannesburg would like to know, wouldn't it be worthwhile inoculating the dogs against these diseases? There are programs to do that, but Eleanor must remember it's a really, really expensive thing, and dogs travel such vast distances, they're quite difficult to keep up with. But I know certain packs are inoculated. Where I live, we are reintroducing another pack of wild dogs that will all be inoculated after our last pack was the individuals are either killed or we had to destroy the rest because of rabies. Good morning to Sherry, who's in the bustling metropolis of Los Angeles, and she would like to know if rabies is detected in a pack of wild dogs, do we euthanize or destroy the whole pack, or the conservation authorities, or do they try treat individuals? Unfortunately, with the social structure of wild dogs, we saw that greeting and begging ceremony, the saliva is passed very quickly from dog to dog, so there's almost a zero chance of being able to effectively quarantine and treat wild dogs that have been exposed to rabies. So unfortunately, they all do have to be destroyed. Jan in Chicago would like to know, if the wild dogs ever became extinct, how would that change the environment? Life would be a lot easier for animals like impala. They do fulfill a niche, but in their current numbers, it's almost as if they have been removed completely. So up until a lot of African countries, up until well into the 70s, they were considered vermin and shot on sight. And even in South Africa, it's only in recent years that we've learned to understand them a bit more. They were considered to be very cruel animals because they're so successful at hunting and they literally rip apart prey. So that brings me through to the dentition and how they're different from domestic dogs. So they don't have a dew claw. Also, their teeth are highly adapted to being super predators, basically super carnivorous, and they have their premolars, carnassials, are designed for shredding and ripping, and that's what enables them to tear apart a carcass so quickly, whereas domestic dogs are more for chewing and that, so it wouldn't be as effective as a wild dog. At dismembering a carcass. So those premolars are the largest of any predator related to body size outside of hyenas. So Jared would like to know, do they howl or bark like domestic dogs? Not really. We heard a lot of that high-pitched tittering that they do quite a lot of, but also they do sort of a contact call, which goes whoo, 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 when they get separated from each other, and they do have a very gruff-like bark, which is an alarm call. So if they see a lion or something, it's a very deep sort of bow when they see a potential predator, and it's an alarm call. But on that note, from something big and hairy to something tiny and green, crawling on Scott.
Welcome back, everyone. Jammed against the steering wheel so that I can be far enough away for Tibbs to focus on this awesome little inchworm that's crawling along my collar. Oh, is it on me now? I think it may be on me, and I'm still jammed against my steering wheel. Maybe Tibbs can zoom out to give you an idea of exactly that's. You see, I'm stuck here like this, and the inchworm is making its way up my ear. But what I want to do is show you one other visitor that we had on the vehicle before it runs away. There it goes. It's a jumping spider, and it actually made a little kill. It caught a tiny little insect, tiny microscopic pinhead-sized insect that walked in front of it, and now it looks like it's busy looking for its next meal. Great stuff. Well, even though we are at the hyena den, it's a good example of how the smaller animals out here can provide us with some great views. The inchworm I've moved off my ear now and is now on the dash. Don't they have the most awesome way of moving? They curl their bottom up towards their head and off they go. Here we go. This is That was almost a gallop, an inchworm gallop we saw there. Here we go. Oh no. And, oh, here we go. This is it. Now we got the motion going. Now there's a certain dance move called the worm that sometimes people try and simulate, and I think they are learning it from this specific worm, the inchworm. Awesome, awesome creatures out here. And nothing like a tiny little bug like this upstaging a massive predator like a hyena, which we will show you now. We've repositioned at the hyena den, and it's quite nice to see from this side of the hill. Bye-bye, little inchworm. Nice that we got to show you some little insects and arachnids. This is the other side of the termite mound. The hyena that was initially facing away from us. This is the subadult, is now, as you can see, facing towards us. Fast asleep, just twitching its ears to keep the flies at bay. And there's been some recent developments with regards to naming individuals within this hyena den and clan, and I'm told that this is May, as it was discovered for the first time in May this year. So for now we shall call it May. And the reason why we're naming the animals is not so that we can call them to us when we are looking for them. It's simply so that we can keep tabs of who's who, and any interesting occurrences that may happen between certain individuals may be therefore kept track of and calculated. What a surprise. Didn't expect to see the hyena getting up now. And maybe it's because May is wanting to model all of its different spots and patterns to you so that you can get a close look at it and understand exactly who it is. Taking screenshots of these animals is a great way of keeping track of who's who. Each hyena will have slightly different spots to another. Where are you off to? Is there another hyena approaching? Is there something going on or no? Or are you just wanting to find a more secluded spot under that thick bush? I think that's what's happening. Well, no more hyena, but I would like to show you one or two more things. There's a few more burrows here, and I think they are interconnected. So here you can see one. There's another one that you can't see very well over there. But there's a couple of burrows that the little cubs will be hiding out in during the day, fast asleep. And because we can't see any more hyena, we're probably going to make our way out of here and see what else we can find before the end of the safari. Hello to Kathy in Tennessee, who's interested to know how many hyena clans do we have here at Djuma and Arathusa. Well, there's only one clan that we know of for certain here on Djuma, and they use different den sites, and we're not exactly sure how many members are in our clan. So it gives you an idea of how much unknown there is, Kathy, but there's certainly a clan that dens on Djuma. There's currently no den sites on Arathusa, or at least the portion of Arathusa that we can drive on. But that's not to say that they don't have hyena moving through their area. And there is a hyena den site just south of Arathusa. So you'll probably find that the hyena that predominantly move on Djuma are from a separate clan to the hyena that we see across on Arathusa when we do see hyena there. So probably two different clans. But Kathy, tricky business because we've got a small traverse area and there are only so many hours in the day. There's only so much time that we can invest with these hyena, and therefore that's, why we don't know every last little bit of detail about them. And in order to be able to know intricately what goes on with the clan, you basically need to live with one. And as much fun as that would be, we've got lots of other animals that we need to show out here, and it's not just the hyena we focus on. Joel in New York, as well as myself, are wondering about the hyena that was very badly injured in a fight recently. Badly injured, it had its left ear tuned basically off. It will fall off. It will not have a left ear anymore once that ear has actually healed. I'm sure it will fall off. And its back right foot had been chewed from probably about 4 or 5 inches from its toes all the way up. It had been chewed into a pulp. So there's a very strong chance it's going to lose its back right foot if it in fact survives these injuries, which it could well. Sadly, nobody has seen this hyena. There hasn't been one report of it being seen. So we've got absolutely nothing to go on. But I'm confident to say that that hyena is not dead yet. It may well die in the future, but I think it will still be fighting those injuries that it sustained in the battle that it had with other hyenas, possibly intra-clan, possibly its own clan members that it was fighting with. We're not entirely sure, but that is what we assume, that it was a fight for dominance, probably between females, maybe an up-and-coming queen trying to overthrow a current queen. That's a probable cause of the fight. This is quite interesting. You're not going to be able to see too much into this animal's home, but we are going to be able to show you the home of an animal, possibly a squirrel or possibly a bush baby. And I'm just going to jump out quickly, and I'll be able to show you exactly what I'm looking at. In this dead tree here, you can notice a whole bunch of leaves. And I'm just going to pull one out, and these would have been collected by an animal like a bush baby or a tree squirrel to create a nice cozy house within the cavity in this tree. I'm guessing possibly the entrance may be a little bit higher up over here, and this is all the bedding down below. Interesting stuff though, and nice to know that an animal's living in there. Not too sure which one, probably squirrel, but strong possibility of a bush baby, a small nocturnal primate. Stuff. Well, we're going to continue perusing through this general area. The wild dog were actually running through this area earlier this morning, funnily enough, and we're going to see if we can find any of the animals that they were chasing around, the wildebeest, the zebra. And while we do that, we're going to send you across to Brent for a quick update on those wild dogs.
And as you can see, the wild dogs have not moved an inch. There's been a little bit of rolling over, but generally still in the same spots. And we've got some interesting little facts on the wild dogs from a cultural point of view. They don't feature heavily in a lot of African cultures. Sort of early Egyptian culture, they feature a little bit in hieroglyphics as great hunters. But in the San culture, or the Bushman culture, they are revered as the most effective hunters. And believe it or not, we know how smelly and how full of parasites wild dog feces is. The San would actually rub wild dog feces on themselves before going hunting to get blessed with the speed and agility of a wild dog, as well as they had quite an interesting and very, very, very sort of apt cultural folklore about wild dogs. And wild dogs are the bringers of death, which they are very much so. So the story goes that the moon goddess we're going to go across to Scotty quickly. I'll finish the story a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And this ground hornbill was just carrying something in its mouth. I'm not sure what it was, possibly a little tortoise. I want to go and take a closer look. It just dropped it down and kind of stabbed its beak in towards it once or twice. It's a beautiful flock of them, and it's not just one like we've been seeing. There's another one off to the right. There's another one there further afield that Tebs has found, and then another one closer by to our right. So at least 3. And these are highly endangered birds, the southern ground hornbill. We don't get to see them very often. Awesome stuff. And I just want to creep forward and see if I can't find what that one was carrying in its beak. It'll be very, very interesting to see, and then we'll focus on trying to get you some good views of them. Well, a morning for the endangered species. Wild dog this morning, now the southern ground hornbill. It dropped this thing that it was carrying somewhere over here, and as I lifted my binoculars up to see what it was, it fell out of sight, so I can't see a tortoise or anything for now. So we'll leave that and get you some views of the hornbills now. Very turkey-like birds, I guess. Formidable hunters. They will catch and kill just about anything they can overpower. Snakes, rodents, lizards, insects. I'm so happy that we're seeing a decent flock, because it has just been the one individual we have been seeing over the last week or so. I'm going to do a big loop around them and let them walk towards us. Sorry, Tebs. Didn't give them any warning that we're about to depart there. So, I'm going to give them a wide berth because they can be a little bit nervous of us, and I don't want to chase them away, but I do want to get into a spot where we can at least see them feeding towards us, so that way if anything does happen, we'll be in a good spot to capture it. And this is where the wild dogs were doing their business this morning. It's a more calm and tranquil scene now. Okay, there's one individual over there Tebs is just giving you a quick glimpse of, and like I say, they can be a little bit nervous, so I want to do a big loop ahead and then at least have the last minute or two with some great shots. Oh, a thick-billed cuckoo just flew off right in front of us. Oh, it landed on the ground right behind this bush. Let's see if we can't get you a glimpse. You know what's very interesting here? Just took off again, just as we were getting a glimpse of it. But I think that starling might think it's its parent. Now, you can see the starling in the tree and the thick-billed cuckoo. And thick-billed cuckoos will parasitize starlings, and the way that that starling followed the cuckoo into the tree makes me feel that the cuckoo has been raised by the starling, and the starling is unwise to the fact that it is not actually its offspring, it is the offspring of another bird that cleverly got it to raise them. But we're going to continue on now, because I do want to try and get you more glimpses of the ground hornbill. There's a lone impala up ahead. I wonder if she isn't the unlucky individual who lost her lamb to those wild dogs. She came running out of that exact area and was possibly looking for them, or looking for her calf or her lamb that would have been killed. The fact that we also saw there was 2 thick-billed cuckoos, it wasn't just the one. So I'm thinking those 2 chicks both hatched out of the same clutch, possibly. Interesting.
Now to find the hornbills. Kevin on YouTube wanting to understand more about why these ground hornbills are endangered and therefore asking what eats them, what kills them. And not much that I know of. And I'm not too sure what would kill an adult ground hornbill. There's certainly some large birds of prey that could, but I've never heard of anything actively hunting ground hornbills. And it's more the fact that they've got a very, very slow nesting and breeding habits that cause them to be endangered. It's not because they are killed by other animals, Kevin. Okay, I've got some good news. I think we are in a spot where we can now stop and let this hornbill come towards us. We're not very close, but I don't want to push it any further than this, and hopefully it will continue in our general direction. This is the first one that we saw. It's got a very distinctive pale mark on its beak. And as hoped, it's coming straight towards us. Looks like it's snacking on a few little insects along the way. Please find a little snake. That would be wonderful to see it wrestling a tricky prey item like a snake. Well, it's been a wonderful day out on safari, and we are sadly going to have to say goodbye now. Thanks for joining. Thanks for all the fun we've had together, and well done to Nikki and Louise in the final control room. We're going to race you across to Brent for a quick goodbye and one last view of the dogs.
So we're nearly at the end of the show, and I want to show you as much of the wild dogs as possible, so I'm going to show you them and talk over. So a quick end to the sand story. The goddess of the moon decided that all animals should be reincarnated, and the scrub hare who we saw die this morning mocked her. So she took reincarnation away from the animals and sent the wild dogs to hunt the scrub hares and his descendants for the rest of eternity. It's been great being with all of you here on Safari Live. What an amazing morning. So great to have you all, and with my favorite animal. Thank you to Andrew, who did a fantastic job. See you on the Sunset Safari.